Hi everyone, in this wood-fired workshop we're cooking whole roast goose and goose fat roasted potatoes. Stick around for the whole video and see how it's done. So I've got a whole goose here, as you can see, weighing around about 4 kilograms. Should take around about an hour and a half to 2 hours to cook in the oven. The oven, you can see, I have preheated and sitting at a little bit below 200 degrees. First thing we're going to do is get this goose ready. It's already been sat out, so it's up to room temperature, but it's been out of the fridge for a couple of hours. So inside the body cavity here we've got these big pieces of fat, and we don't want those in there whilst we're cooking, but we will let them render down. Fat that comes out of them will be fantastic for roasting your potatoes later. And then into the cavity I can pop some aromatics. So I've got some orange, some onion, some cinnamon and some star anise. Then I'm just going to tie the legs back together and stop them splaying out as they roast. The next thing I want to do is to prick the skin all over, just going into the skin, not all the way through and into the flesh, and this is going to allow fat to render out. Just give this a really nice sprinkling of salt. It's going to help it crisp up. So that is now ready for roasting, and over here I've got a pan ready. So I've got a grill set up, so my bird is going to sit over these aromatics, and in here I've got onion, apple, rosemary, thyme, carrot, orange, and some spices as well, some cinnamon and some star anise. So into the pan I'm also going to put this fat, allow that to render down, and I'm going to cover the breast. Now this is important in this case because we really like the breast to cook a little cooler than the legs, so that we end up with the breasts at around about 65 degrees centigrade, whilst the legs at 80 degrees centigrade. What we're going to do is cover the breasts and then cook the legs at the back of the oven and the breast at the front of the oven, and we know that there's always a bit of a differential between the back of an oven and the front of the oven, and we're going to use that to our advantage in this case. I'm also going to cover the breast with foil, and that's going to deflect a little bit of heat and allow it to cook a little bit more slowly and quietly than the legs. So I've got the oven nicely preheated, but I've still got a bit of embers at the back, and I'm going to push these off to both sides, but not bring any of them forward. So those embers are going to keep producing a little bit of heat, but more so towards the back of the oven. And then I'm going to use 2 heat deflectors to push those off to the sides. Leaving a nice gap down the oven to put my bird. And I slide that all the way in. So we know often there'll be at least 100 degrees difference between the front of the oven and the back of the oven when we've got a fire burning in the oven and the door open. Even with the door shut, because this space contains no thermal mass, so the heat here, even with the door shut, is a little cooler than the back. Plus we're deflecting some heat with our foil for the first hour or so of cooking, which means that we'll cook the legs considerably more than we will cook the breast. So that's the bird in the oven. I'm going to put the door on just slightly ajar. Now if I was cooking this in a domestic oven, I'd be cooking it at 180 degrees, 170 degrees, 325 Fahrenheit, something like that, for 30 minutes per pound. That would be the instructions on the pack. In the wood-fired oven, if we're trying to keep the breasts a little bit pink, a little bit medium, then it's going to be a little bit less than that, and I'm going to be using the probe thermometer to check the temperature, and I'll start checking it after an hour. It's had an hour in the oven. We're going to bring it out now, take some fat off, check the temperatures, see how it's doing. You can immediately see that we've got nicely browned up legs. I haven't crisped up the breast yet. Going to use a probe thermometer, push it deep into the breast there, and see if we're anywhere near cooked. Remember, this is a 4 kilogram bird. We should be looking at about 2 hours of cooking time, but we know that the wood-fired oven will often do things in a much shorter time. So already there I'm up to 62 degrees. I'm also going to take the temperature of the legs. So let's go into the deeper part of the meat, and already I'm up to 83, 84, 85. So now what I want to do is give this just a few minutes of heat and give the breasts some colour and some crispness. So amazingly, that bird is cooked in an hour when the instructions for cooking in a regular oven said 2 hours. These things are absolutely essential when you're cooking in a wood-fired oven. I've got some wood chopped up and ready to go. Just some very small sticks. I'm going to get these burning, get a nice flame over the top of the bird to crisp up the skin. So you can see I've got a little fire going there, not too fierce, and I'm going to carefully slide this in, and I'm not going to take my eyes off this now really. I'm just going to very carefully burnish our goose. So I'm going to turn that onto the board here. Cover that over and let it rest while I cook some roast potatoes. Our oven now is a little hotter, of course, so ideal for cooking the roast potatoes. A decent amount of goose fat in our pan there. Whilst that's heating up, just a chance for me to say thank you for watching this video. We produce these videos on a regular basis, all about different things to do in your wood-fired oven. So if you enjoy wood-fired cooking, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you've enjoyed this video and found it useful, do give us a thumbs up. I can hear the fat behind me starting to spit and splutter, so that's almost ready to go. And let me just tell you what I've done here. So I've taken some potatoes, parboiled those, drained them off, and then given them a good shuffling around, so we've got a nice broken surface. And then back into the oven, and I'm going to keep the fire burning now at a steady rate so that we keep it nice and hot to roast the potatoes.